Alright, people, this is going to be 3 YouTube videos, not in one video, but 3 apiece. And this one, I'm going to give you my prediction for the third round of the NBA playoffs. The third round of the NBA playoffs, Western Conference semifinals. It's going to be the Los Angeles Clippers versus the Los Angeles Lakers, round 3, game 1 of the NBA playoffs conference semifinals. Western semifinals. Now, some of y'all probably like, Alex, the Clippers got one more basketball game, so how do you know 100% for sure it's actually going to be the Lakers versus the Clippers for the third round for the Western Conference semifinals? Well, that's easy. Because today I have a crystal ball, and in this crystal ball, it reveals to me that all I need to know. They're going to beat the Denver Nuggets, okay? They're going to beat the Denver Nuggets. I don't think you're going to see the Denver Nuggets versus the Lakers in the third round, because if you were to see that, then the series would end in 4 or 5 games with the Lakers, and the Lakers would just advance to the NBA Finals. If you want to see a competitive basketball game, the Los Angeles Clippers versus the Los Angeles Lakers will be by far the highly most watched, anticipated basketball game on the schedule. Why? Because you have a story to tell. It's 2 teams from Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Clippers, a basketball team that has played in Los Angeles and in San Diego for the past 35, 45, 50 years in the NBA. The Los Angeles Lakers is a history franchise. It's won 16 NBA championships. It's gone to the NBA Finals like maybe 20 or 21 times in their whole entire basketball franchise of 60 to 65, maybe 70 years of basketball history. The Los Angeles Lakers have won 16 championships, gone to the NBA Finals 20 to 21 times, and you've got legends, you've got icons, greats, all-stars, all-time greats on that basketball team of Laker legend. You know, you've had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You had the great Irvin Magic Johnson. You know, you had Byron Scott. You know, you got Kobe Bryant, Derek Fisher. The names go on and on and on. And then you can add on to that list LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Rondo, McGee. You can add in Dwight Howard's name to that list finally. You know, those are guys that are expected to go down in history as NBA future Hall of Famers. You know, all stars, NBA champions. On the other hand, you got the Los Angeles Clippers who have never won an NBA championship in their franchise ever. You know, they have gone to the playoffs, you know, and this is the one team that might do what all the teams that came from before has never been able to done. You got a coach in Doc Rivers who's gone to the NBA Finals twice when he was with the Boston Celtics, the Los Angeles Lakers rival team from the East. He's gone to the NBA Finals, and as a coach, Doc Rivers knows what does it take to win in the playoffs and get to the NBA Finals. He's got 2 superstars in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And it's going to be Paul George and Kawhi Leonard versus LeBron James and Anthony Davis. That's a matchup, okay? That's a heavyweight matchup. Like, if this was boxing, you would probably say this is going to be Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard versus Thomas Hitman's Hearns and probably Mike Tyson or something like that. That's how big of a heavyweight matchup this is. 2 superpowered LA teams playing each other either for the first time or the second time in history, and they're both from Los Angeles. Both teams want to represent the West. Both teams want to win the NBA championship, but only one can advance to the NBA Finals. And this is going to be a competitive basketball series. It's not going to end in no 3 games. It's not going to end in no 4 games. This is one of those series. It might take 5 games. It might take 6 games. Why is it kept close? It might take 7 games for this series to end. This is where we're going to find out who really is battle tested, who really is going to advance to the NBA Finals. Now, whether you're a LA Laker fan or a Clipper fan, you're going to watch all these basketball games. They're going to be very entertaining, very competitive. They're going to be fouls called, technical fouls. They're going to be questionable calls in every game. You're going to see tensions and attitudes flare like never before. You're going to see players get into it with each other. Don't be surprised or shocked if you see LeBron James get in Kawhi Leonard's face, because it's a rivalry. Clippers versus LA, it's a rivalry. You know how this all goes back to the NBA season before the accident, right? We saw the Clippers win the first game. We saw the Clippers win the second game. We saw LA win the third game. Then, for whatever reason, they played a fourth time, and LA won that fourth game. So they played each other like 3 to 4 times. Okay? Now you're going to see them face each other in the playoffs of the third round. Right off the back, you can say 7 games. Okay? It's not going to end in 3. It's not going to end in 4. It's going to take 5, maybe 6, probably 7 games for this series to end. And don't be surprised if maybe 2 or 3 out of these basketball games go into overtime, double overtime. This is the series where you're going to see LeBron James have no choice but to step up as the veteran leader. Since LeBron James is the alpha, he going to have to he gonna have to alpha. He gonna have to drop 25, 35 points a game. He might have to score 40 points a game because it ain't like when you played against Portland in the first round. That was the first round. Okay, you playing the Houston Rockets. It seems like all they need is just one more win to knock off the Houston Rockets. I don't expect you to see no Houston Rockets and no Clippers. Um, and I'm not saying the Houston Rockets can't come back and win another game and make it 3-2. But even if that was the case, you already know the table is set, okay? It is predestined that these two teams face each other in the third round. I guarantee you don't nobody want to see no Denver Nuggets and no Houston Rockets no third round. Like, as entertaining and interesting as that is to see, people want to see something that's worth watching on TV. LA Clippers versus Los Angeles Lakers. Now that I gave you the history breakdown, now let's get into who wins the first basketball game and why. As you do understand, ladies and gentlemen, whoever wins game 1, 99.99% of the time, goes on to win the series and the NBA championship, whether they're from the West or the East Conference. So let's get into it, shall we? I'm going to go with the LA Clippers first. The Los Angeles Clippers could actually upset, and I'm going to tell you why they could upset game 1 by winning 121 to 116. They can win basketball games under pressure, okay? It takes a great team, not just a good team. It takes a great basketball team to win under pressure. We're talking about winning basketball games at home, on the road, under pressure. And the Clippers can do it all. They've won on the road. They won at home. They can play all 4 quarters. They can play the back court, the front court. They can play zone. They can play man-to-man. It's not going to bother them to run the clock out. They're good at getting 3 or 4 timeouts. They're good at playing in overtime, double overtime, and they can win back-to-back games. They can win 2 or 3 games on the road or at home. The Clippers can do that. And Paul George or Kawhi Leonard can score 20 or 30 points apiece. And the question is, if you can stop Paul George and shut him down, then the question is, how do you stop Kawhi Leonard? Like, you can stop one of them in the basketball game, but the question is, can you stop both of them? And Kawhi Leonard, once he gets started, once he gets his momentum, that guy can do anything. That guy can drop 20, 30, 40 points a game, and once he gets started, it's hard to stop him. This guy's getting blocks, steals, rebounds, 40 to 45% of the time, sometimes 50% of the time, Kawhi Leonard makes all his free throws. Paul George, on the other hand, he's more of an offensive basketball player. He's more of an offensive threat, and he can play some defense. Every now and then, Paul George can play some defense, but the person I would be very concerned about is Kawhi Leonard, because he is the key for the Los Angeles Clippers to win this series if it goes 7 games, and it probably will. And he is the key to winning an NBA championship in Los Angeles with the Clippers. Like, Kawhi Leonard could be that one basketball player that could upset the whole thing for the Lakers. And if you're a Laker fan, you probably do not want to see the LA Clippers win against the Lakers, because they have the potential to beat the Lakers 3 or 4 times in a 7-game series. It don't matter to Kawhi Leonard. Like, Kawhi Leonard is like, what if Jimmy Butler from Miami was playing in the West and was doing the same thing? You see how Jimmy Butler destroyed that basketball team, and that's just one player? Well, Kawhi Leonard's like that. Kawhi Leonard has the key to upset a series. He can take game 1 from the Lakers. Nah, I don't want the Clippers to win this series and go to the NBA Finals, but the point is, if I'm going to be nervous about a basketball player that is the key to causing an upset in the third round and it's against the Lakers, I'd be very, very nervous to see Kawhi Leonard play against the Lakers because this guy can guard LeBron James, okay? This guy can guard LeBron, and LeBron knows it. Kawhi Leonard can get off and get 20, 30, 40 points anytime he wants. In fact, Kawhi Leonard usually waits until the third or fourth quarter to start doing it. Like, this guy can take off and slam dunk the basketball. This guy can be behind you and block your shot 10 times in a row and then just look at you like, what you gonna do? That's what Kawhi Leonard can do. So I think game one, they could upset the Lakers 121 to 116. Or the LA Lakers can take the game 127 to 123. It could be overtime. Now, I do believe because we're seeing the Clippers being forced to play another game, some people might think that might slow down their momentum. That should be the case. And the series won't pick up until game 3 or game 4. That's when the series will pick up. That's when it's serious. It's like what they say in commentator, when you get punched in the face, you know you playing. So game 1, the Lakers might be asleep on defense. Clippers might be, energy efficient wise because they have to play 7 games. Or game 2, the Clippers might try to take game 2 if they lose game 1. So I'm going to say Lakers going to take game 1, but the series will pick up by game 3, by game 4, or even by game 5. You're going to see a series pick up. So that's pretty much the predictions on this. Until then, peace.